Typical mistakes with relative sentences. One of the most typical mistakes is the duplication of the pronoun. Let's have these two sentences as an example. Our politicians have some problems. I would like to mention them. A very logical thing would be to put them together using a relative pronoun. Something like, our politicians have some problems, which I would like to mention them. But this is wrong. Why? Well, in the sentence I would like to mention them is the object. So when we create our relative sentence, our politicians have some problems, which I would like to mention them, which is the object. And them would be a duplicated object. It is wrong. We cannot have twice the same object. So the correct sentence would be, our politicians have some problems, which I would like to mention. Second typical problem, a formality problem, a problem with formality. Let's take these two sentences as an example. Nurses are the real heroes. Journalists should talk to them. And we are going to put them together using the pronoun who. And the sentence would be something like, nurses are the real heroes to who journalists should talk. This is wrong. Let's see why. In the sentence, journalists should talk to them, to is a preposition and them is the object. When we put that together into a relative sentence, and we want to use the preposition before the pronoun because we want to be formal, nurses are the real heroes to who journalists should talk, these who is an object, not a subject. So in fact, as it is a formal relative clause, we should use, instead of who, we should use whom, which is the correct object pronoun for relative clauses. So the correct sentence would be, nurses are the real heroes to whom journalists should talk. Third typical problem, duplication of the preposition. Let's take these sentences as an example. Nurses are the real heroes. Journalists should talk to them. Now we know that we should use whom, which is the object pronoun. Nurses are the real heroes to whom journalists should talk to. But this sentence has a mistake. Which one? Why? Why is it wrong? Well, obviously we have the preposition to, and we want to be formal, so we're using the preposition to before the pronoun. Therefore, there is no reason to have the preposition again at the end. This is wrong. We can only have the preposition once, and if it is formal, it should be before the pronoun, and therefore disappear from the end. The correct sentence is, nurses are the real heroes to whom journalists should talk. Another typical mistake is the duplication of the adverb. Let's see these two sentences as an example. New York is a fantastic city. You can spend a romantic getaway there. And we are going to put them together with the use of were. New York is a fantastic city. Were, you can spend a romantic getaway there. This sentence is wrong. Why? Well, obviously, there in you can spend a romantic getaway there is the adverb of place. When we create the relative sentence, were is acting as the in substitution of the place adverb. So New York is a fantastic city where you can spend a romantic getaway there. So that the at the end is a duplication of the concept of place. So logically, we should take it out and leave only one concept for place. New York is a fantastic city where you can spend a romantic getaway. That's the correct sentence. Another typical mistake is the distance that you might leave from the referent. When we create a relative clause, the relative clause must be as close to the referent as possible. So in this particular example, the wife called an ambulance. Her husband had a fever and cough. If we create this particular relative clause sentence, the wife called an ambulance whose husband had fever and cough, it is clear that it is wrong. Why? Well, the referent in this sentence is wife. We are talking about the wife and we are talking about her husband. We are not actually talking about the ambulance in the second sentence. So when we create the sentence, the wife called an ambulance whose husband had a fever and cough, this relative clause would be making a reference to ambulance, and that doesn't make sense because this whose is not talking about the ambulance but rather talking about the wife, who is the real reference to the sentence. So logically we have to put it in the right place. The wife, the referent, whose husband had fever and cough, the relative clause next to the referent, called an ambulance, right? This is the logical order for this particular sentence. Remember to put the relative clause always as close as possible to the referent.